What happens when you take a seasoned sailor, used to cruising oceans at his own pace, and throw him into the fast-paced, adrenaline-fueled world of racing? Well, you're about to find out, because today we invited Sam of Sam Holmes Sailing on board Killing Time to race with us. A lot of my videos so far have focused on offshore racing, because I'm currently documenting our campaign towards competing in the legendary Fastnet race later this year. I'm so excited about that for so many reasons, which I go into in other videos. But that's not actually the type of racing we do most often. In fact, you're far more likely to find us doing around the cans racing, which is really fast paced with tons of sail changes and manoeuvres, and it can get quite dramatic at times, like it did towards the end of the race today. So how will Sam hold up? Make sure you watch the end to find out.
Ready about.
Now we're in the pre-start procedure. When racing, we all have specific roles on the boat, and we work as a team to make the boat go fast. Here, Ben, who's our bowman, is covering the helm whilst our skipper is down below. Sam Holmes is on main sheet, Dupree and our Sam are both trimming. I'm on clutches and navigation, and LV is on the foredeck. Here we are laughing about how difficult it is to use the heads.
It's great because that's how he knows how we move. Yeah. Like anytime the jib isn't folded in half properly, trying to actually...
Our sail locker and heads overlap, so sometimes it can be pretty impossible to have enough room to open the seacocks if the sails aren't stacked neatly or if they've shifted whilst we've been underway. Ali's back on the helm and Ben has been shunned back to the foredeck. And here, we're trying to ensure that we're in a good position for the start. We're tacking not only to ensure that we're in the right place for the start line, but also to burn some time so that we don't cross the start line too early or too late.
It's about 15 seconds.
And there's the starting gun. Kaya were over the line, so they had to go back and cross the start line again, which meant we found ourselves at the front of the fleet. A good start for us. Time to get on the rail and try and extend that lead. Plus, there's a very appropriately placed raindrop on the camera. Read into that what you will. Now we're moving a bit of weight to leeward to try and get the boat at the right angle to go faster. And now the angle of heel is increasing so we can bring weight back up again. Before we know it, it's time for the first mark rounding, and here we are prepping for the kite hoist. But I pulled the slack in from the black tack too early, so Ben lost the speed tack. He fixed it, and now Dupree is calling Ali on the mark, because given the mark is to leeward, it's harder for Ali to see whilst he's helming on the high side. As soon as we rounded the mark, we needed to go straight into a kite hoist, so here we are getting ready. RIP Ben's muster cap, 2022 to 2023. And now we're easing the jib as we round the mark. And now it's time to go with the speed. We got the jib down successfully, and now we're on our way to the next mark. We need to jibe, so I'm setting up the lazy spinnaker sheet. It's slightly too short, which can be a bit of a pain when resetting, as you can't reset it and then leave it as it will fall off the winch. Just as we're about to jibe, Dupree and I swap over the lazy sheet and the working sheet. So in a jibe, I'll release the working sheet and Dupree will pull in the lazy sheet, which then becomes the new working sheet. We're all shouting heads to try and get people to duck because that boom comes across really quickly. And at one point, Sam Holmes' head wasn't low enough to avoid it. We've got a bit too much main halyard, so I'm opening the clutch whilst it's on the winch, then closing the clutch and taking it off the winch, then putting it back on the winch and opening the clutch over and over to try and ease the halyard just a little bit. Everyone is so far forward you can't really see them, so it looks like Ali and Dupree are double-handing. After this brief period of calm, soon enough, it's time to jibe. We're not quite making the mark. The tide is pushing us north, and we need to be south of the mark so that we can leave it to port, meaning we need to throw in 2 more jibes in quick succession. So here I'm resetting for the second jibe. After this jibe we'll be going straight into the jib hoist, as we need to head upwind for the next mark of the course. Whilst we're hoisting the jib, our Sam is sorting out the main sheet, which was all messed up.
Sam too. Okay, on the drop. Ready on the drop?
Ready? I'm on starboard now.
Yeah.
Ben was calling for more halyard to come down. I was letting go of it through the clutch, but the halyard was caught in the teeth on the mast, so it wasn't coming down. But once we yanked it free, the speed came down instead. And as soon as the halyard was under control, I was straight on the nav to keep us off the rocks.
Okay, that's 1.8.
Then we go into attack. I'm putting a little bit more main halyard tension back on. And after we tack, weight is going back on the rail to try and make us go faster. Then, once the lay is looking like we'll make the mark, we go into another tack. Typically we err on the side of caution and go a little early because it's more time consuming to go too far and have to claw our way back down to the mark than it is to not go quite far enough and have to throw in a few extra tacks. During the tack, the jib sheet got caught in the mast, so it didn't release fully, and this meant it sort of hampered our ability to get up to speed quickly after the tack. But there was not long on this tack until we had to tack again. Here we're just holding on a little longer, and now we're tacking with another tack straight afterwards. You can just see son of a gun on our starboard there. They made massive gains on that upwind leg. They took a slightly different strategy to us and hugged the coast of Guernsey, whereas we stayed out in the channel. But it really felt like there was nothing we could do in these conditions to rival them, even though they were a smaller boat. Those SunFast 3300s really fly when it's their day. And it's on this leg that things start getting a little feisty. We had the kite to starboard when we really needed to be on the port side for this leg. So we needed to get the jib down and jibe as soon as we could. Ali wanted a jibe, but the jib wasn't fully down and the lazy sheet wasn't prepped. So it was all a bit of a mad dash to get everything ready to go. We were having to sail a pretty high angle to make the mark without sailing too much water, and it was getting pretty gusty out there, and this meant that things started getting a little feisty. Our Sam is putting the twing on to depower the kite so that we're less likely to broach, but just as he did, there was a gust and we started to broach. We become too far bent over and lose control of our steering. The boat rounds up, the helm puts the boat into a reach to get the boat moving so that we're able to bear away and head back downwind. We got the kite full again and we're back sailing downwind pretty quickly, but then there was another gust and we broached again. This time, when I released the kicker, the vang fell out of the boom, which we'd have to fix once we got the kite back under control. But son of a gun were underneath us, and we couldn't see exactly where they were, so there were a few seconds of panic, as obviously we needed to avoid a collision. So then it was time to fix the kicker. Sam Holmes lifted the boom while Ben put the vang back on. And then we moved weight to the back of the boat to try build up some more speed. Ben called the gusts so that the helm and the trimmers could preempt them and try to avoid another broach.
To be honest, it's reasonably steady. Building back, gas. Ready for kicker, Kicker!
Before we tack around the mark and head upwind again, it's time to get the jib up, followed by a nice, clean speed drop. It's quite gusty around the castle, so our Sam was working really hard on that main sheet. Here we're getting ready to tack around the mark, then hoist the kite once again, the short run down to the finish.
Despite a couple of dramatic moments like when we broached, we were second across the finish line, so held up pretty well all things considered.
We really enjoyed having Sam on board and chatting to him about all his adventures. And speaking of adventures, we're off on our very own adventure next week. On Tuesday, we're going to be doing the painstaking task of taking everything, and I mean everything, off of Killing Time and only putting back on the essentials that we need to race. Then on Thursday, we're up bright and early so that we can sail Killing Time from her home in Guernsey over to the race start. After a day of race prep in Cowes, we're going to be starting off on the Cervantes Trophy race, which is our first race of the season on Saturday. There's lots in store, we're really excited about it, and I can't wait to get into my offshore gear again. If you've enjoyed this video, please do leave a like or a comment. It really helps more people find my channel. And thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a great week.